Trey, we had this idea for this new segment basically because we had so many ideas that we were kicking around in the pre-show text thread. And listen, we want you to be as informed as possible heading into each college football week with different matchups. This isn't necessarily a news and headline show because let's face it, you get that from 74 other sources. But at the same time, there are things that we wish we could work into the show on a weekly basis, and that's where this idea of the pre-snap notion was born from. That theories, ideas, conversations that need to be had outside of the context of just a preview or a recap can live in this segment. And Trey, you had a doozy of a take that we decided, all right, this is the one that we get to christen this segment with. So with all of that kind of as the context, as the foundation, you have one coach and his passivity that is in your crosshairs.
I absolutely do. And if you listen to this podcast and if you take a guess based on what you know about us, you can probably guess what coach I'm about to talk about. I'm going to talk about the head coach at our alma mater, Mr. Jimbo Fisher. And it's a timely time to talk about him because I think he faces the most important game of his tenure at Texas A&M this weekend, taking on Ole Miss in Oxford, a now top 10 ranked team. They haven't won a road game in over a calendar year since 2021. And listen, my hot take is everyone's trying to figure out why A&M is so broken. Everyone's trying to figure out why they can't put together a 10-win season or an even better season with all the talent that they've assembled on campus. If it's not the talent, it has to be the coaching. And my hot take is that the team is taking on the passive nature of their head coach. And look no further than the last two losses that they've suffered this season against Alabama and Tennessee. Both games are mirror images of each other in the fact that they get the ball right before the half. Instead of going for the jugular, trying to get as many points as possible on the board, they're kneeling out the clock. This team is terrified of making a mistake. This team is terrified of doing the wrong thing. You see it in the execution. That's the E word for Aggies. But you see it in the execution of every little thing that they're doing. They're terrified to miss a block. They're terrified to run the wrong route. They're terrified to fill the wrong hole on defense. And that is a microcosm of what Jimbo has brought, the attitude that he's brought. When he came to College Station in 2017, it was all about toughness, effort, discipline, and pride. I'm not going to argue that they're giving a good effort. I'm not going to argue that they have pride for who they are, but the toughness is a little bit questioned. It's a little bit concerning that they always seem like they're terrified to make the wrong mistake. And the head coach does it too. The head coach is terrified to do the wrong thing. That's the bold thing that helps you win the football game.
I mean, where's the lie in all of that, Garrett? I feel like that is kind of a lot of the frustrations that A&M folks have had, not even just Aggies, from the national landscape. I mean, I get questions every single week. Hey, Mitch, you've covered college football for a long time. What's wrong with A&M? And I never have an answer, but I think Trey might have gotten really close to having an answer.
Yeah, man, they're so bogged down, right? The Aggies are just so bogged down by over information, but nothing really means anything. It's all, just hey, it's time to execute, it's time to find the inches, whatever that means. Nick Constantino needs to find about 1,000 more inches worth of punting per game. So
Not good.
that's something worth looking at. When you get that bad of a production out of that many guys, and not even just that bad of production out of guys, but guys actively regressing, watching players look good one year and then the next year they don't look quite as good, and then the next year they're almost bad, and seeing players regress at multiple position groups is just extremely frustrating. Not the way it's supposed to go, not what happens when you have a top roster. And Aggie fans deserve better. I mean, Aggie fans deserve a better product than this. And ultimately, at a certain point, you keep saying execution, you keep saying execution. At some point, you actually have to put this on the coach and say that the execution is on him, and the execution is on him not putting his players in a good position. So, I mean, look, sometimes it's just, the player misses a block, player, drops a pass, But after multiple years of this, you start having to wonder if it's not so much the players, if it's more the process and the coach running the process.
I mean, yeah, it's like we're looking for the inches. We're looking for the execution. You've been saying that for 3 years. Like,
Hmm.
what other stones do we have to overturn
Right.
other than the head coaching seat? You've replaced your offensive coordinator. You've obviously had to find a new defensive coordinator who took his lumps early, who spent all of 2022 taking all the flack from the fans, from us. Finally adjusted. That defense is really, really solid.
Yeah.
I watched them in person this past weekend. They're a nightmare to go against.
Yeah.
As long if you don't have time to sit in the pocket and throw the football down the field against that secondary, you are in trouble because you
Hmm.
can't run it on them. You
And
cannot
it's
move.
hard to have time. They
Yeah,
get after the quarterback really well.
but the offense is really frustrating to watch. The offensive line is one of the worst in college football, and
Yeah.
it's holding A&M back from being an elite team.
Gracious, how about that?